Hello, my name is Drew Beegler, and this is my speech. So I would say in group projects, and especially the occasional part-time job that I've done, I've kind of learned over the years that leadership shows up long before you have a title. And today I'm going to answer two questions about my own leadership and experience within that sector, of things. First, the types of power I have as a student and how that shapes my communication personally. My main sources of power are going to be expert power, referent power, and legitimate power from assigned roles. And my reasoning includes, I guess, some of my reasoning here is in one of the articles I'm going to have a link below. French and Raven describe these as common power bases, and they say expert power comes from skills, referent power from credibility and relationships. And legitimate power, I would say, especially from like a formal role like a team or a club officer, you could use informational power, especially when organizing notes and keeping track of due dates for others. Um, Basically, and for example, in a stats course that I had, I think it was my sophomore year, classmates did ask me for help with Excel, and that is an example of expert power. And I kept the group chat positive, consistent, very clear, which also built, you could say, is referent power. That's a good example. And then I guess when our instructor at the time too, she like named me as a discussion leader for 1 week, and that also gave me legitimate power. And I used it to set a clear agenda of what I wanted done and what I wanted to say and time frames. I also started to assume like certain other things about classmates as well, so it kind of just got my broader point across. So basically, my communication changes with whatever power base I kind of need. So within like talking or dealing with professors and administrators, I use a clear, concise, emails. I kind of, you got to kind of suck up to them a little bit, especially if they have egos. You can kind of tell by the way they type their syllabus, to be honest. And it helps. And I guess with like kids my age, I guess you could say peers to be like kind of fancy with it. I more use like questions, quick how tos, and I guess like when we're like working with projects, like shared files and shared docs and everything, so everything's very cohesive and easy. Second, if there's a difficult teammate and how I'd communicate now. So basically, my personal approach, I would say, is to combine active listening and a conflict mode that would say matches the situation, and like pairing out like a simple way to give feedback. Um, I guess you could say so. I guess looking online, what I've read into research kind of shows active listening increases satisfaction and understanding. And the Thomas Kilmann model, for example, lists 5 conflict modes. You got avoiding, accommodating, competing, compromising, and collaborating. Oh, sorry. And for feedback, I guess you could say, I guess to put a fancy label on it, I could say I use situation behavior impact method, and that could be basically. And then an example of this, obviously, being in a marketing class I had, it was second semester freshman year. I had a teammate, or I guess you could say a classmate, who stopped replying, and we missed a draft deadline by a couple days. And I guess to deal with this, I don't know. I'd start with listening. I would ask for 5 minutes and reflect what I hear. If the issue is like, especially like a time conflict, I would kind of do collaborating to split tasks by strengths. Maybe Xing out that guy from the equation and just getting it done because the due date's more important than everyone doing equal amounts of work. And I guess you could say if a quick fix is needed before a deadline, I would also, I would compromise and choose a more basic, crappier version, take the C to get the A later. I guess using listening in like a fit conflict mode and SBI kind of keeps relationships steady and keeps the work on track. And that is, I guess you could say leadership without a title. And basically, kind of in conclusion, all in all, to wrap this up, my takeaway is pretty simple: build a real power through skill and trust. Assume people want to do good work. Use listening, structure feedback, and when things get hard, tough it out. Thank you for listening. My name is Drew Beegler.